So again, Andy and I are going to do a presentation now on topic-based authoring, planning, and topic review. And we're going to have 4 discussion points, talk a little bit about the Toro Company and our team, the benefits of moving to DITA, the reasons why we moved to DITA or we're moving to DITA. Then I'm going to hand it over to Andy, and he's going to talk a bit about our current book-based system and our future topic-based system. So I'll start out with the Toro Company. The Toro Company was founded in 1914, and when I interviewed in 2016, I walked to my first interview, and I walked through this long hallway, and it was filled with machines built by Toro, starting in about 1914 through the present. And it was really cool to see the history behind the company. It really was impressive as someone who was interviewing for the first time. Yep, we have over 9,000 employees worldwide, net sales of a little over $3 billion. And manufacturing locations, the closest ones where we work are Toma and Wyndham. The Toro Company is a leading provider of solutions for the outdoor environment. We do a lot of, we create a lot of machines for turf and landscape maintenance, snow and ice management, underground utility construction, rental, irrigation. Some of the brands here you may recognize, starting with Toro, or maybe people know us best by our residential lawnmowers and snow, but really our commercial division is much larger, especially golf. We're probably the leader in expertise in golf technology. And we also have other brands here, Exmark, which does primarily zero-turn mowers, with some other products, Boss plows. If you go to a truck show or an auto show, they'll always have the Boss plows by the trucks on display because all of the truck people like Boss plows the best. They think they look the coolest. Hayter is from Spellbrook, England, lawnmowers, Ventrac, compact tractors along with attachments, and the Toro Company recently bought Charles Machine Works about a year ago. It was a huge acquisition for us, and it's been very successful. Ditch Witch is probably their most well-known brand. They do trenchers and skid steers and other equipment, and you may have heard of American Augers as well. They do directional drills, along with Subside, Hammerhead, and Radius. We have a staff, 13 and a half, which is kind of funny. I'm the supervisor. I'll talk a little bit about me and the team, and then I'm going to ask Andy to talk about himself here. So I've been at Toro for a little over 4 years. My background, I've got about 10 years supervisor manager experience at Toro and other companies. Experience working with legal. I'm responsible for making sure that I empower my employees. Processes are good. I approve all the pubs that go out, most of the pubs that go out. Sometimes I ask someone else to do it. And I lead a steering committee to define the technical documentation process for the Toro Company and ensure consistency across locations. Supervisor of 12 people. We have 9 full-time writers. They use ArborText Editor. Andy moved everyone over to XML many years ago. People at PTC know him well. The writers, it's a real high-functioning group of people. They have really good writing skills and graphical skills. We're moving more and more to graphical instructions. We have a lead who's been driving graphical instructions for several years now, Brad. And we have quick start guides, which is somewhat of a recent development for us. It takes the place of printed manuals for many of our high volume residential products, and Brad and Anna have been leading that effort. Recently, we have graphic designers. We've hired 2 now very recently, and they're creating a lot of animations that help both our internal and external customers use our machines quickly and safely, and then also storyboards for quick start guides. Andy, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Andrew Pieper. I've known a lot of the architects groups for many years. I was an Augie. I went to my first Augie back in 2003. I've been with Toro for 22 years now, 23. I can't remember. Since '97. Anyway, I started out as a writer, worked through team lead, and really was our first information architect on the XML side. Developed our own. We for years we had our own custom XML application that we worked on with Arbortext back before PTC, and developed into a very long and successful project of XML. We've been doing XML at Toro since 2004, and that has been one of my primary responsibilities now for the last 5 to 6 years, really. And I became a full-time information architect 4 years ago, and we have made the decision to switch to a more topic-based structure and go to the standardized architecture of DITA, and that is what we are currently working on.
Sounds good. Okay, I'll take it back, Andy. We also have a full-time editor who doubles as our safety content expert, Rich, and then I could name everybody, but I only want those people who I mentioned to buy me donuts. So, okay, so the technical writing team, what we create the following types of instructions, primarily operators manuals. Again, the quick start guides for the high volume residential products. It not only saves printing costs, but it also helps our customers set up their machines quicker. And we do service bulletins recently. It's part of our outreach to other departments, such as the 3 customer care departments at Toro. Our writers, they write or edit, and then they use an enterprise system of routing and review, by getting it into XML, of course, it prepares for translations, and it has a professional look. Andy and Heather Sigstead did the style sheet for that, and Heather also helps Andy with a lot of the DITA work. Let's see. And this, I want to call out, this is Andy's new cover sheet for the tool carrier.
So, yeah, that's our new, you guys are the first ones who get to see our new cover formats. We have yet to publish them yet.
Yep. So, who we support? Of course, Toro. And then a couple of the departments I want to call out, the service team, service manuals and diagnostic guides. Andy got them into the system, I think about a couple of years ago. And then for about a year, we've been slowly working with our 3 customer care groups to do service bulletins and also animations. They found out that the animations for some of the content, it just helps our customers understand it more easily and quicker. And we've also done some animations for marketing. We support Xmark, located in Beatrice, Nebraska, Boss, Iron Mountain. We write all of their publications, and then we also support Hayter in Spellbrook, England. Why are we moving to DITA? Everyone probably knows, some of the main reasons. We do want to deliver content to multiple platforms in whatever form you need from a single source. But we're really looking ahead to supporting new technologies, app-controlled products, and augmented and virtual reality experiences. Andy told me this story. He went to a PTC conference not too long ago where a pub's team was involved with showing their AR experience. But then when it came time to show it, they showed the whole manual. They didn't show the topic. And we definitely want to get ahead of that. So we're supporting topics as needed for an AR experience. We want to publish technical product information to other media. Again, we want to be involved with the customer care. departments, feeding our information that we've written into chatbots, into Salesforce. I have their people who are on the phone with customers being able to use our content and give solutions immediately to our customers. We want to save time for authors and reviewers, and you know, sometimes people chuckle saving time for authors because when you're moving into DITA, it might take a little time for the authors to get adjusted. But really, once we go to topic reviews, and I'm going to save most of this for Andy, we're going to save time because you're going to review it once rather than these book reviews. And then that in turn saves time for the authors because they don't have to respond to all of these reviewers' redundant requests. And of course, it will improve accuracy and consistency. We want to reuse topics instead of creating variations of topics. And then standardized processes and styles across the Toro locations. We're moving to, by moving to a standardized DITA topic-based architecture, we can use standardized training and tools for creating content, and people will be all using the same processes. Reduce translation and printing costs. A couple other reasons. Andy saved most of the cost, the translation costs years ago, but we're hoping that still by moving to a DITA architecture, we'll look at minimalism, and then also there'll be greater reuse. So we will save some costs there. And another one I want to throw out there is supporting right-to-left languages. So here's our timeline for DITA. In 2017, 2018, we did take a couple of years to do a content analysis and to create some product content guides. We had some issues with object ID creep, we called it. We had a topic that had unwanted variation from cloning topics. And what we did was we did a thorough content analysis, and we created content guides so that the writers can look at a topic, say changing the oil, they can go to their content guide and say, okay, this is the topic that is the latest and greatest, and it's the accurate one. I'll use that the next time it comes up in a model within my product line. It ensures, so we had a great success with these product content guides. We've had it for a couple of years now. It does help us control content. It ensures consistency. It improves the authoring process, fewer errors, reduced variability by about 48%. They've been very helpful. However, it's still a manual process, and that's why Andy's going to talk more about that when he talks about moving to topic-based in a DITA architecture. In 2018, 2019, we did some safety standardization. That's where Rich met with the legal and safety groups. It took several months, but again, it was part of our content analysis and standardization so that before we tried to proceed to DITA, we had our content in a really good state. We wrote a DITA business plan, and we hired consultants. In about April, about a month ago, Andy and Heather finished the data model, the PDF style sheets, conversion of first product line. They might still be tweaking a few things right now, but they're pretty much done. May, we're shooting for our first pilot. It'll be a PDF output and topic-based review for our op manuals. And then in a couple of months, Andy's going to do HTML style sheets and translation deliverables in preparation for our second pilot in July, which is HTML output and translations. And then we're going to move to August for a couple more pilots for service manuals and installation instructions. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get all of the possible use cases ironed out, all the bugs fixes before we move to production deployment of our first product line in September. We'll do a demo of some publishing portal and web-based review options later on in the year. And then hopefully in December, it's an aggressive timeline. We want to start production deployment of additional product lines. And with that, Andy, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right. Hello, everybody. So, a little bit about our current system before we dive into it too much. Our current system, Bob, you need to keep presenting.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I made you a presenter by accident.
I don't have the
I'll bring
slides.
it back to. Okay. My apologies.
No problem. All right, I'll just talk a little bit yet first.
Okay. Can you share your slides again, please?
So we created our current system before DITA existed, before there really was a lot of topic based. I did talk to a lot of the members of the DITA team as they were developing it, and we used quite a few of the same ideas and the semantic concepts back then. But DITA was so new that it was not something we were willing to really dive into yet at that time. But the ideas were sound, and we used a lot of that. However, one thing that we could not duplicate is how DITA handle topic-based authoring. Yes, we bursted topics, but our use of and our ability to manage and use those topics independently of their primary books was very limited. In fact, we are very book dependent in our XML system. And so while we received quite a bit of translation savings and the usability of structured authoring and the ability to have the style sheet control and data model control and all that, the holy grail that we still didn't have was the ability to serve topics independently to people and do topic-based review and plan on a topic-based level. And that really wasn't feasible for us at the time. So we've more than met our ROI on that system over the years, and now we are looking to move to something a little bit more that gives us those topic functionalities. So a little bit about our current system and where we're at today. We produce approximately 1,200 English publications a year, translated into 36 different languages. At this point in time, we are expanding that to 40 some soon. Once we get using Arbortext Styler with APP, we currently use XSL, but going to APP will allow us to add the right to left languages that we have been needing, such as Arabic. But anyway, at this point in time, we do about 1,200 EM publications a year, and that's just at Toro Lindale location, at our Bloomington location. That does not include our subsidiaries, such as the Xmark location and Hayter. Next slide, next please, Bob. So one of the big issues that we have with the book-based system is that we have some limited review staff who have to review all of those publications every year. There are 2 legal and 2 safety engineer reviewers, for instance. Those 4 people, the 2 legal and the 2 safety, each of them review approximately 600 books a year. That's a lot to throw at people. Now, the problem with that, next please, Bob, is that much of the information is repeated across multiple books. So for example, take a particular product family. We often use the Dingle line as an example. The Dingle product family can contain 5, 6, 7 different books, all with the same changes for that year that are filtered down across. Well, each of those, that'll be 5 different books for 5 different models, but this change is the exact same change in every single book. But the reviewers are going to see all 5 books the way our system is set up today. So there's no good way for them to not have to check every book. The writers do comment and tell the people, yep, you've seen this before, and we have some kickoff meetings that explain to people what's going on, and we've tried to mitigate it, but that mitigation has all been manual, and the system does still require that the books be checked. And next, please. Most of the information that is sent out to our reviewers is unchanged and really doesn't need re-review. In fact, next please, Bob. Reviewers tend to over-review when given a full book. It's human nature when you're given something to look at, even if you looked at the content that changed before, you tend to look at other content and maybe we'll just tweak that sentence a little bit. Oh, we could maybe say that one a little better. Well, this is stuff that's been approved for years, and And reviewers are constantly sending comments in for minor tweaks that really don't change the meaning, that really don't change the content. And that has become a fairly serious issue. And the reviewers actually are frustrated. They're seeing the same. It's hard for them to tell what's new, what's different. They're getting a lot of emails. They're getting a lot of content to review, and it's almost disrespectful of us to put that onto those reviewers. These reviewers are engineers, they're lawyers, they're people who have a lot to do, and yet they're getting inundated with hundreds of manuals a year that they really don't need to re-review all the time. Which leads me into where we're going. So Bob, if you please switch. Our future topic-based system. So what I want to talk about today is actually not the entire topic-based system, because that would be a little overkill. What we're really focusing on is the two things that we're doing that are very different than what we've done before. And the first part of that is the information plan that we want to create. So what we want to do is have the writers plan and agree upon with their SMEs, the engineers and the legal representatives, upon what topics are going to be created for each product family ahead of time. So this is what we're going to be calling the information plan. And I'm going to go into a lot more detail on what we expect with the information plan. I really wish I had a mock-up of it for you to show you today, but we haven't gotten that far in the process. We know what we want, but the actual format of an information plan is something that we are still debating and agreeing upon. So I really didn't have anything I felt that I could show that would be helpful. But that said, so what we really want the writers to do, and they're currently sitting down with their engineers at the beginning of a project cycle. So a particular engineer is typically responsible for a product line. So at the beginning of every year, I want the writers to start sitting down with their engineers for a product line and planning out what pieces of information need to change based on the feature and product changes that are coming that year. So instead of attacking it book by book or in a more haphazard nature, we'll take a look at the features and we'll go feature based on what features are changing, what features are being added, and what problems have come to light over the course of the year, and what are they working on for this year, and then make a plan based off of what topics exist for the product and what things need to be added and what things need to be changed. And I'll get into that a little bit more detail later. The next portion of our topic-based system that I want to focus on today is our topic-based review, because that's really going to be new for us. In the system that we're developing, we are going to be creating a separated workflow in Windchill that will handle topic reviews. And then once all the topics reviews are done and any deliverable, and when I say deliverable, I mean things like a PDF or an HTML, etc., will be built. Those will go into our standard engineering Windchill workflow that we have today to release those deliverables, though we may be able to cut down on who has to review overall books, and maybe it'll be more of a proof level on the overall books. But each new or edited topic will be reviewed only once for a given product family, saving reviewers time. They won't be seeing the same thing over and over again. They'll get to see the topic and then they'll be done. Next, please, Bob. Since most deliverables will only receive full team review for new product lines, as what I was kind of discussing before. When I say new product line, I don't mean a new model number, because model numbers change from one year to the next, but they're really not new products. They're products with a few changes that and getting a year-over-year model update. When we talk new, we're talking really the innovative stuff, the new things that we have never done before. A good example with that is our Outcross product, this new tractor that we came out with a couple of years ago. That was a brand new product. We didn't have anything like it. When we took on directional drills, that was a brand new product for us. So whenever we add a new product like that, then that year, not only will all the topics for it get reviewed, but also the manuals will get reviewed, and the HTML manuals and everything will all have to go to review, and so that all the right teams see the comprehensive review that first time. Then after that, they just see those whole products at the project information planning stage and can determine what needs to change or what doesn't before the writers start writing. so that by the time the writers are creating topics, all the SMEs have already looked at the books that exist, and they don't need to see every deliverable that we want to make. Because as time goes on and these deliverables get into topic-based publishing, they're not going to be able to see exactly every deliverable, or how a writer, or how a customer is getting every single piece of information, because there won't be any real way to show that, because there might be several different ways, an AR experience for one customer, and a web portal for another customer, and a printed PDF for yet a third. So next, please. One thing that one of the reasons that we want to go to this is to an easier control of the content. We've had a lot of issues where reviewers, because they know they get to see so many books, if they're really busy when the first couple books go by, they maybe don't read it as carefully as they should have the first time, so that by the time the third one comes by, now they've got time, so they'll go do a comprehensive review of the whole manual at this point in time and find tons of things that they want to change. Well, now they're changing that topic and found things that they need to change in the topic. Well, if that topic changes here midstream, but these two books have already been published, but now they found a change here, well, now we got to rev these two books, and it causes great inefficiencies where people aren't, always sticking by and doing their detailed reviews right up front like they should be, and that is a definite issue. And so we want to be able to, by showing everybody things once, and the reviewers know that they have that one shot at it, we hope to mitigate some of that and ensure consistency and accuracy across our product lines, because they know that those topics will need to be right off the bat. Next, please. Today we use product content guides, and this was a concept we came up with a few years ago. It's essentially manual, kind of a manual information structure, to use PTC language. It's a XML document that lists out, because all of our objects are burst into the system today, and they all have identifiers, and all the graphics have identifiers. So essentially the content guides today take an entire product family, and it lists out all of the topics that are currently needed to support that product. It's a very manual, like a list derived book for sake of discussion in our XML today, but it's not an actual set of content. So what we really want to get to is a spot where, instead of the writers manually updating these content guides to keep track of which objects are used for which products, we really want to get to a point where this is done in Windchill, probably in an information structure or an overloaded map, DITA map, where the topics that support an entire product family will be outlined and actually physically live. And then the writers can go there to build whatever deliverables or maps or whatever that they need to support that product line, all based off of that one overloaded map. And so this will replace our manual content guides by actually putting the real content in their places through linking in Windchill. Next, please. Sorry, my throat's getting a little dusty. I swear I'm not getting COVID or anything. All right. So a little bit of our process flow. This is a real simplified process flow, and I'm going to apologize for the green and the blue. The green, the white, and the blue, basically I use, they don't really mean a lot, other than I needed a way that when I'm not in person and pointing at the screen, for you all to be able to know that I'm talking about the first box or the middle box or whatever. So I will hopefully, I don't want you all being wondering why the heck there's weird colors on the screen. That's mostly a device for me to be able to discuss it with you virtually. So in that first green box, this is, I should say first, this is a very simplified process flow, essentially, this is just straight up the major portions of what a writer does in order to create a book in our new system. And really, to be honest with you, the big new thing is the green box, creating the project information plan. Everything else we've done in the past, I guess in the past, to create the project information plan would have been research what needs to be changed, write a book. The blue box would have been route the book, and the final box would have been release the publication, right? Where today we're changing this up and making it topic level. So the very first step is going to be to create that information plan where we develop what information needs to be included in an entire product family, and so that we can write topics that span multiple products. Then what I won't be talking a lot about today, but is an important step, is the writing and the revising of those topics. So following the information plan, the writers will break out and write the actual topics. And one of the big things that I should note that we do expect to get out of topic-based authoring is the ability, a much more enhanced ability for us to share responsibilities of creating those topics. Once the information plans are complete, we should know what needs to be created and where to go to get the information and what information is needed, so that a writer who's in charge of that information plan can divvy out that information to other writers who may not be as busy. So it really will help Bob and to redistribute the workload in our team much better. And not only in our team, but even like our service groups who also write information for like the service manuals and that sort of thing. If they are in on the project plan and get into the system, which they are planning on, say we're having a downtime and they have a lot to do, we could pick up a few topics for them and help them out, and vice versa. So it's a good way for Toro to share these responsibilities and use our workforce much more intelligently. The next topic, the blue one, is the other thing that I'll be talking about more today, which is how we're actually planning on routing these topics for approval and release. Finally, then after they're approved, they get built and released into deliverables, and that's going to be almost an automatic process. Yes, the writers will still be building a map that handles that, but that map will basically be template based, and they'll just be inserting those topics once they're approved into those maps for either PDF or HTML delivery. And we are looking long to going to a much more portal-based delivery of topics. All right, next please. So let's dive down a little bit into the creation of an information plan. I'm sorry if this is getting a little small for this format of screens, but this is actually the flow that I created, a little bit simplified yet from what we'll really be doing. But this is how an author will be starting a project. So at the very beginning, kind of like they do today, but on but for a full product line, not just particular products. They'll be interviewing engineers and the SME teams, or getting them to mark up changes if it's an existing product in the books of what's changing for this year. So really, it's going to be on the writer and the engineer as a team to create this information plan, to decide what all is changing and what needs to happen. And then it's on the writer to decide whether or not they can reuse any existing topics and what topics need to be new. And so they'll have to search. This is the part where they'll be searching our database and finding other topics that exist, other things other people have written, and seeing if there's anything else or what existed last year, what needs to be revised, what needs to be created from scratch. And from that research, write an information plan. Now we plan on having a template for the information plan, and this would be the upper green box in the center. We would expect to have a template that they can use, and that each product family will probably have its own template. And very likely the writers will just edit one information plan from last year and make the new one from this year for this year. Again, we have yet to put this into place, but this is where we see we have done something. We have been moving in this direction with our content guides and with these things that we call kickoff meetings. So, Bob, today, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kickoff meeting, and what's the other format for a brand new product?
Stakeholder meetings.
Stakeholder meetings. So we have stakeholder meetings for brand new products and kickoff meetings for existing product families. And these the writers are doing today. And this is where they meet with those teams to decide what's changing and go over safety and that sort of thing. So we're going to be adding to the complexity of those meetings now. And instead of just meeting on a few topics each year for that stuff, they're going to be going over they'll also be going over the draft information plan that will be sent out to the teams and presented to them at that meeting. And the teams can, at that point, the teams can say, oh, but we also need to change this part of safety, or, oh, you forgot this part, we need to fix that. After which that meeting is done, green box on the far right, we expect the writers would then revise the information plan based on what they learned in that team meeting, and then route that plan. This is a very important step. Route the physical plan to engineering, legal, and safety to get their blessings. So at this point in time, we are expecting those roles at this company to take responsibility for what is being planned and move it forward. So, and it's that responsibility that's important, because we want to make sure that they have a stake in it and that they take responsibility that, yes, I have seen this, and yes, no, I don't need to see the whole books again. I just we know that these topics are what are changing. And it looks like I got to speed this up a bit. So next screen. All right, so routing topics. This is actually going to be fairly soon. Fast is straightforward. So for routing topics, we plan on attaching a routing map. And the routing map is going to essentially be a map that contains just the topics that are being routed. They could be all the topics identified in the information plan or a subset of those, depending on which makes sense at the time. And these will literally just go through a standard Windchill review, where they go through an SME review with a loop back if there's any changes required. They need to be by the SMEs with a final proof check at Bob's desk before they go out to be created into release topics and go out for translation and be used somewhere. Next, please. So this is our idea for a routing map. So essentially, the way we want to do this is, at this point in time, will be to create a PDF style sheet that creates a routing map that contains any topics that you want to review at any given time. These maps are going to be disposable. They are essentially in existence for as long as the routing occurs, and then they are no longer needed after that point in time. So it'll be a DITA map that will contain one or more topics for you to review. So this is like the cover page for the map, is what I'm showing you here. And that's going to have things like a link to the information plan, so that the reviewers can go to the information plan that they've already approved and see, oh, yep, these are the topics we approved, and oh, this is what they did with them. Yep, they did what we planned. And then the writers can write some notes about it down at the bottom. You'll see that the writer notes at the bottom, please. And a little bit of a key to tell people what to expect, what different colors mean if we use color. We're still defining some of this stuff, but this is fairly down the road of where we want to go. Next, please. So if you scroll down in that routing map, you would see your first topic, and that topic could be loading the machine. One of the big things that we want to do here, and this is from a legal safety and just reviewer confidence level, is to expose the change history log for a topic to the reviewers, so they remember that, oh yeah, 2 years ago I asked them to change, I asked them to remove the widget from the first figure. We often get comments where a reviewer 1 year will ask for one change, and the next year they'll actually sometimes ask for a contradictory change to the one they did the year before. We're not saying that's wrong, but what we do want to do is, when we point out oftentimes that they asked for the opposite last year, they'll be like, oh, well, then never mind. So we want to make sure that the reviewers remember what they've asked for from 1 year to the next. But we also don't want to expose the actual comments, because reviewers, when they make comments, they're not necessarily trained in how to say things in a business legal perspective. And sometimes they will make statements that are not something that are necessarily good for everybody to see. So what we want to do is condense the comments down into the business reasons for a change that are legally approved and accepted business reasons for the change, without maybe some of the emotion and detail that sometimes commenters can put into comments. Bob, you want to say anything else on that?
No, I think that's good. And only other example, say if something in Nancy changed, then we would know that's why we changed it. But I think, yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Exactly. And then we'll, of course, mark any new changes. To here, I just marked them in red. That we likely won't be doing because obviously there might be red, green colorblind people, and we don't want them to not see where the changes are. We're trying to decide how to mark the changes. Today we do it manually in the PDFs. We might use Arbortext features. We might come up with something in the style sheets. We haven't decided that yet. So moving on, please. So again, initially we're going to create a routing map as a PDF, as I showed you before, and that's where Heather and I will be designing that probably next week, the week after that. Anyway, as soon as we get the last of the PDF style sheets finalized. But we are also assessing using other methods of online review and not using PDFs at all. Why do we want to do that? Well, with a PDF, it's pretty static. What we're really looking for is something where you can get dynamic online presentation of the content, so that presentation could change, so the reviewers could see it. What would this look like if it shows up for a Toro versus an Xmark, right? Because the same content can be used between the two companies. And viewing in context. What if it's what graphics would show if I see it with this model versus that model? Robust real-time commenting features. For instance, when I just drew a blank. Being able to share comments and have other users see that somebody else commented, or commenting on somebody else's comment and having them flag so that they know that they've had a comment on that. Comment filtering and sharing. Writers being able to find comments by a single user. Being able to share comments. Say, send a comment have a writer be able to pick up a comment from Carol and send it to somebody over in engineering to say, hey, this is what legal's saying about this, right? And of course, version history, the ability for a reviewer to actually open up two different versions and see what's different. What's the delta between them? Next, please. I'm getting low on time. So we've started looking into online review types, and if you want to know what this product is, you guys please email me or contact me, and I can certainly send you to the way of this particular product. But at this point in time, we're not going deep into that. But this would be an example of what it might look like. So this is this is the primary product that we're looking at moving toward here, and it shows. You can just see how it's an online form of exactly what we were developing for PDF. Next, please. Yeah, same thing here. So the essential the way a topic would look. We're actually going to mimic. We would want to mimic the way our HTML books look today. Again, this is all just a mock-up that we've developed, or that was developed for us, and we like what we're seeing here. And then dynamic real-time commenting features. That's a key thing. Something where people can put comments in and highlight things in the text and write comments about that highlighted text, and then other people can comment on the comics, and a spot where the writers and the various SMEs can have a conversation about a section, as opposed to everybody just put their comments in and not know what anybody else is doing after that point, which is kind of where we are today.
So really quick summary, moving to DITA, just 3 of the top reasons. Thanks, Andy. That was a great presentation, but we have to wrap up now. Serve topics and support new technologies, more accuracy, consistency, and then implement the information plan and topic-based review that Andy talked about. And then these are our 3 key milestones on our timeline. And I think with that, Andy, anything else? I think we're done.
I'm done.